Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NR2003 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season here on the channel. Coming at you today, the regular season finale at Daytona International Speedway. Our first time finally getting to use this Camping World Truck Series physics model at Daytona, which we've never been able to do before. When we went here for the 500, we were just using the generic Cup physics. Now, as we have one heck of a points battle, not only for the playoff spots, the final couple spots up for grabs tonight from 15th, 16th, all the way down to 18th, 19th place, scrapping it out for the final two spots, as well as we have a regular season championship battle happening that we're going to keep you guys updated. We will have an idea before this episode is over of the playoff situation. Who's in, who's out, who wins regular season championship. We're not going to have to go in and calculate the points after the race. We will have it live coming to you guys all night long. I am joined in the booth by two people today. As usual, we have JayCook. We have a guest, Matt O'Brien, who's joined us a few times before from earlier this season. Now, Jay, of course, a big night for us. We've been keeping along all season long with this incredible season. It has been a lot of curveballs that have been thrown at us, surprise winners at these plate tracks, and I'm sure we can both expect the same potential of a surprise winner tonight. I mean, the last few weeks have just been insanity here in our 2003 series, and I expect the same tonight.
Yeah, and we come into this final night in the regular season with a couple of guys looking to make the playoffs, so you would expect to easily make it in real life, and then one of them being a guy who could be competing for a championship. Kyle Busch at the moment, 27 points out, and then Alex Bowman pretty far down the list. He's in a must-win situation. He's another guy who you'd expect to easily make the playoffs in real life, but due to his kind of poor performances and due to some of these special winners that we've had, or it's kind of really shuffled some of these guys out, and especially for Kyle Busch. He'd be inside the playoffs right now if it wasn't for those, I think, 3 or 4 surprise winners that we have. And so it's really put a different look onto the playoffs, and especially when you have a guy like Martin Truex Jr. as well, just barely inside the playoffs, only 43 points to the good at the moment. He's not even technically safe for this race either, so Truex is going to have to make sure he doesn't get crashed this race. And there's also a lot to watch out for between those final 2 spots and for the regular season championship.
Now, Matt, a lot of guys here in a must-win situation, including your guy of Eric Jones. If you're in a must-win at Daytona, 100 laps, what's your strategy? Do you go hard early, or do you try and wait for the chaos to play out? Because, I mean, a few races you've been in the booth for with us this year, you've seen how chaotic it gets. Do you just sit back and wait and hope for that chaos to happen in front of you?
Yeah, I would probably sit in the if your only option is to win, you just sit in the back half for probably the first 75% of the race.
And we'll see what they do.
I was going to say, that's the thing with these stages is they have such a huge opportunity there for them that the strategy of the old days of riding in the back has kind of gone out the window. Unless you genuinely don't need to fight for points, you have to keep yourself up front because you want to go for those very, very valuable stage points, especially in this final race of the regular season where every point could count. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of these guys fall to the back unless they genuinely are not fighting for points.
The regular season finale at Daytona underway under the lights here from Daytona International Speedway. 100 laps, you see 112. That is due to potential overtime if we need it. So, stage 1, 25 laps comes to a completion as soon as we hit lap 26, completing 25. Stage 2, 25 laps as well. That'll be ending as soon as we hit lap 51. Then we race it from there to lap 101 will be the completion of this race here. Up front, you got Kyle Larson. Now, a very interesting end to this regular season it has been for him. Jay, we've been seeing him fall off quite significantly here late in the season, and I don't think it's been a lack of speed. It's just been a lack of luck that he had earlier this year. So, do you see this maybe carrying over into the playoffs, or what has been a dominant team? Of course, he's in the regular season points lead, can still carry a lot of points into the playoffs, especially if he wins it tonight. But still, do you see this team kind of losing their mojo a little bit going into the playoffs this year?
I don't think so. No, I think that the regular season is a whole different animal from the postseason and from the playoffs. He can kind of slump in the regular season, and it's not going to matter too much. And the team's probably not scrambling too much right now. But going into the playoffs, it's all focus from everybody. Every single person is going to be on their A game, and they have to have it all together to have the best performance in the playoffs possible in order to make it to that final round and then ultimately win the championship in the final race at Phoenix. So the team's no longer just going to kind of be able to sit there and not really care about how they're doing, and they're going to have to turn it back up and be back to how they were kind of towards the middle of this regular season, kind of beginning of it. So I think we'll see Kyle Larson return to being able to win any and every race that he goes to, and we'll really get to see him shine again. That 5 car is not done this season at all. I really do expect him to make the Final Four and be a very strong contender at Phoenix.
Almost looks like Larson's trying to pull out a line to fall to the back in these first couple of laps of this race. He's battling against guys like Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin for the regular season championship. Elliott being the closest to him. 33 points in between those two drivers. So those are the two we're really watching tonight here from Daytona for that regular season battle. Matt, I mean, you compare Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, I mean, they're passed at restrictor plates. Similar to what we're watching in real life this season between Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin when it comes to a plate track. Who do you think has the upper hand here? Larson has 33 points over Elliott. Do you think that's going to be enough, considering his past at plate tracks, to hold on to this regular season championship tonight?
I would say so, just for the simple fact 33 points means, in my opinion, Larson would have to crash out very early. Even. Like, let's say they don't, if Larson crashes in stage 3 and Elliott doesn't get any stage points, that pretty much means Elliott has to win the race to make up those points. So, I mean, as long as Larson doesn't crash early, I think he's fine.
And right now, he's up on the top. A little bit risky. He's falling down the order up front. You're seeing Bubba Wallace locked into the playoffs with that Coca-Cola 600 victory earlier this year. Tyler Reddick on the inside. I mean, we're looking at Tyler Reddick, Jay, in a must-win situation as well. He's only 35 points below the cut line, but realistically, you're trying to win the race when you're in that position now. And he's been strong, and I think back to one race in specific, Richmond, when Kurt Busch picked up his first win on the season. Reddick was in position to win that and then actually got undercutted by Kurt Busch, and that could be, I guess, the difference maker in Reddick making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and at the moment, he's looking pretty strong here tonight as well. So he's kind of getting back to the Tyler Reddick that we saw earlier in the season as well. I think this all downhill kind of started right as we got to Pocono, and I think he was involved in crashes in both of those days there, and it really just kind of spiraled out of control from there. Kind of the same for Chris Buescher. But his spiral started way earlier than that, and both of them went from having extremely consistent seasons and looking like they were going to easily make the playoffs to now they're both fighting for it. Chris Buescher 5 points out at the moment, and then Tyler Reddick, like you said, 35 points out. So they're both coming into this race. One of them can still easily point his way in, and Reddick, it's still possible for him to point his way in, but he knows ultimately that he's going to have to win, most likely, because I think that right now with how strong DiBenedetto is at play tracks, we can expect him to get some pretty good stage points. So I think Reddick is ultimately looking to find his way into victory lane. And right now, the guy leading, Eric Jones, he also would love to find his way into victory lane.
And I mean, right now, we're seeing 3 by 3 by 3, the whole pack deep, and very risky at this point in the race. Don't be surprised if we see some type of crash early on, and that brings up the possibility for damaged cars to interfere with the pack later on in this race. So there's a lot of things we're going to be watching. Of course, a field run here. We're running on 2 times the normal wear, so a field run's anywhere between 17 to 19 or so laps. We've seen some drivers in our testing try to stretch it to 20, but they usually run out of field doing that. So 17 to 19 laps is about the safe fuel window here tonight from Daytona, which means that they'll have to pit anywhere between 10 to 5 laps to go in both stages, and then in the third and final stage they'll probably have to pit with anywhere between 10 to 15 laps remaining in that third and final stage. Right now up front, you even got a Rick Ware racing car, the 53 of JJ Yaley, mixing it up here. I mean, Jay, we've seen back in the last restrictor plate race we did a surprise winner. That's how Ross Chastain is putting himself into the playoffs. So what do you think is the more possible scenario here? Do you think we're going to see a new winner tonight win their way into the playoffs, or are you thinking we're going to see someone that's already won, or maybe a guy that's like Truex find his way into victory lane who's in the playoffs but hasn't won yet?
I think it's very possible we could see a new winner tonight with how this package is. And you see right now there's a ton of guys up here towards the front who have not gotten a win yet this season, up here leading this race at the moment. Obviously still a long way to go, but they know what they have to do. They have to get to the front to win this race in order to get themselves in the playoffs. So I think that desperation alone is going to lead them to be at the front more often than I think some of these guys who have a win. Obviously some of them are fighting for their regular season championship, so they don't want to find themselves in a wreck, so they may wind up riding in the back for the majority of the race, and then maybe they do it for too long and don't find themselves at the front towards the end. So I think there's a lot of different things that can happen, and especially too, we've also seen a lot of wrecks happen before, and a lot of times it'll take out some of the big contenders and ones who already have wins, and we've seen some guys who normally run towards the back get really good finishes out of it, and it's also led to a couple of different wins this year as well. I believe Chastain's win was due to that. There was a bit of a lackluster amount of competition left in that race when he
Yep.
won it. So very possible that we can have anything like that happen again, and we wind up with someone new stealing that spot away from either Matt DiBenedetto or Martin Truex Jr. in the playoffs.
There you see Kurt Busch in the one car. Some big news from him this weekend. I mean, one of the worst kept secrets of the year. He is officially going to 2311 Racing. Get both you guys input on this one, of course. Matt, Jay, we've talked about this in our Going Racing podcast and whatnot. I'll just get you first, Matt. Surprising, absolutely not. But I think the biggest thing is we saw as well the official confirmation that the numbers are being moved forwards. But what do you make of the news we got this weekend here with Kurt Busch, and then of course 2311 just deciding to drop the announcement that the numbers are moving forwards themselves?
I mean, for Kurt, I mean, I think it's a fine move. I mean, going to Toyota is kind of like you're going to the manufacturer that puts the most money involved in the sport, so can't really go wrong with that. And the numbers moving forward, actually, it was Denny had said that that was just a concept. He doesn't actually know how far they're being moved forward. So at least there was that. So because I feel like the number being moved forward was a little too much. It was
Yeah.
like on the wheel basically, but.
I personally think they need to move them back a few inches now. Jay, what did you make of it? Like I said, we weren't surprised, obviously, by the news, but I mean, just overall, what do you think about the move there for Kurt Busch?
I think it's a good move for Kurt, and like Karma mentioned, he's going to the manufacturer that puts the most money into the sport, and they certainly do care about being in NASCAR. So I think it's a great move for Kurt. He's going to be on a team that's still going to be new, but obviously has a great leadership in Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, and then obviously being teammates with Bubba Wallace as well. He'll be able to coach him along with Kurt being such a veteran of this sport. So I think we'll see that team get a lot better, and I really do expect Kurt to still be contending for races. I think that team next year has a lot of promise and can certainly be one of the better teams in NASCAR. So I'm excited for Kurt to go there. I still think we'll see him win races, be very competitive, and honestly, I think he himself feels really good about the move. He seems pretty excited for it. So I like the move. And then also the number thing, I kind of agree. I think that on that specific concept, it was a little bit too far forward. It doesn't need to be right up against the wheel, and I hope it's not right up against the wheel when NASCAR makes their actual rules for it. But I still like the numbers moving forward. I think they look pretty good, especially when you design the paint schemes around them. Just don't put them right up against the wheel. Leave a couple inches there. It'll look pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, is that they at least move them back just a tad bit. And I don't care where the numbers are. If you can make the paint scheme work with the number placement, I am perfectly fine with it being anywhere just about now. As you're seeing, Matt DiBenedetto right in the middle line right there. Of course, he comes into this race only 5 points above the cut line. So he needs to be going for any points he can get, because he as well doesn't know if we're going to have a surprise winner tonight. And if we do, of course, then he's now trying to beat Martin Truex Jr. into the playoffs, who actually just so happens to be the leading right now. Jay, I mean, Martin Truex Jr. doesn't have a great history when it comes to plate racing. So if I'm him, we've talked about this before, I'm concerned, because Matt DiBenedetto, this plays right into his realm. And if we get that surprise winner tonight, even though DiBenedetto is a little ways behind Truex in points, I would put my money, honestly, I think, on Matt DiBenedetto over Truex.
Yeah, as would I. Truex is 38 points above DiBenedetto at the moment, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. That can be erased quickly, especially if Truex gets wiped out, let's say now, and then DiBenedetto gets like 15, 20 stage points, and then by the final stage, if DiBenedetto survive wrecks, he could be easy in front of Truex. So 38 is not enough for Truex to be comfortable at all, and I'm sure this is the position that he wants to be in right now. He's out front, and he's also out front with not much competition behind him at the moment, which can also be a dangerous thing. He might be getting to where they're now too far out front, and the pack may catch him in a moment and eat him alive, and you may fall back to the back. So he's got to watch out for that as well. But yeah, I agree with you as well. This is not certainly not his best type of track. He's struggled here a lot. He's had some misfortunes at these super speedways. So I think Truex is definitely uncomfortable going into this race, and definitely knows that nothing is set in stone, that he can still fall out of the playoffs. So he really needs to focus on getting stage points, maybe getting himself locked in before or by the end of stage 2, and then that way whatever happens in stage 3 won't matter. So he's got to find himself out front here like he's doing and get maximum points.
Here comes William Byron leading this inside. Your Circuit of the Americas winner earlier this season. Only one win so far for him. Alex Bowman in line, following through, looking to the inside of Bubba Wallace. Bowman in a must-win scenario. So is the 20 of Christopher Bell, the 37 of Ryan Priest, the 47 of Stenos. A lot of drivers in this area in a must-win situation. But what we really are focusing on is green flag pit stops are actually coming at us here in just a couple of laps. So we're going to see if maybe some drivers try to get a little more organized. Seeing it's not 3x3 anymore. I mean, there's a little bit of 3 wide, but it seems like they're trying to organize down to 2 lines, getting prepared for some pit stops. But pit entry at a plate track can be very, very dangerous. Now you can see a lot of incidents happen, so definitely want to get as organized as possible here. Now, Matt, when it comes to plate racing, short pitting or undercutting, what's more important here, getting a tire advantage or coming in with a large group of cars to have that draft? What do you think is going to be the better play here?
Cars.
Pretty straightforward. Jay, I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yes, you definitely need to go down pit road with a big group of cars. It's not about tires here at all. You want to go down with either your manufacturer teammates or just find a big group to go with in general. If you go down with only 3 or 4 cars, you're going to come off pit road and be quite far behind where you were before.
And there you see right now in the top 2, you got 2 Toyota teammates and Bubba Wallace actually there in 3rd place. So, I mean, that can work out pretty well for these front 3 drivers. Now, as we close in, 10 laps remaining here in stage 1, and pit stops should be getting underway probably at the start of the next lap. No takers this time. Oh, no, we got one. We got Joey Logano. Oh, Chase Elliott is going to come into the pit lane as well. An interesting move right there, as they are going to be all by themselves. So we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. I mean, at the same time, they could just try to be playing it safe, because they're not going to be at risk of going a lap down here before the end of this first stage. So maybe they just want to try and get out of that chaos before it happens here now as they go down this back straightaway. This is where I think we're going to see this big group of cars come into the pit lane now. So Truex, Bell, and Bubba Wallace, your top 3 down into turns 3 right now. So, Jay, what's your goal here? Are you trying to just get sorted out as much as possible? I mean, if you're on the outside, there's not much you can do, and if you want to pit right now, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, pit stops are coming, so you really want to find yourself on that inside lane. And we have some guys here that are going to be too wide going into pit lane. We've seen this in our testing be a little bit of an issue, so hopefully these guys get it sorted out. Otherwise, we might see some people running into each other, like we see the 41.
Oh,
yep,
41
just like
got
that
a piece
right
of
there.
it. Clean up here.
Gonna have some good right side damage. We have maybe some slowdowns here in the back. They're 3 wide here for a moment. Those guys are getting sorted out. DeBenedetto is a guy, he doesn't want to see any troubles happen with him. It looks like he might have got slowed down, but I don't see any damage on that car. So he should be okay. But these guys look like, for the most part, they got it sorted out. Now I'll have to see that second group can do it.
Surprising. I thought that was actually going to get a little bit closer than it did now. Elliott, Logano linked up. Kyle Larson is going to be leading this next group. Are they going to pit this time by? I think that would be the best option for them now, as it looks like Kurt Busch is really pulling out back there, but everybody, I think, is going to be coming into the pit lane, and if they try to really stay out longer than this, they are at risk of running out of fuel. Everybody's pretty clean here. We're going to have to watch back here, though, with the 1 car, the 6, the 37, the 12. Looks like it's going to be clean all the way around. So overall, a pretty clean set of pit stops here. Kevin Harvick at the very back, but Truex is going to be cycling out in front. And it looks like, Jay, I mean, we saw Elliott and Logano towards the back of the pack. And now here they are a lot further up, because now they're going to be right here with the main leaders of Truex, Bell, as well as Chris Buescher. So maybe them pitting by themselves at this point could work, maybe due to the lack of speed the rest of the big pack had to take going on to the pit lane.
Yeah, something certainly slowed that pack down there, and there's a lot of separation in that group as well. So something happened there to where most of this pack got separated, and Logano and Chase Elliott just took bumpers and went flying around this track, and were able to gain up a lot of positions, which we did not expect. That's a little bit sketched there with the drivers coming on to the bottom side of the track. But yeah, certainly something happened there to where a lot of these drivers got slowed up on pit road, whether it was them going too wide and having to get things sorted out, or just simply being slow because they were in a big pack and not wanting to all slam into each other. But Chase Elliott and Joey Logano look like they made a good call.
Yeah, I think Corey LaJoie is going to end up being your leader coming to the final 6 laps of this stage, depending on what the closing rate here is. Here comes Chris Buescher, and this is something to watch. There's just 5 points between Chris Buescher and Matt DiBenedetto. Well, Matt DiBenedetto is currently nowhere even close inside of the top 10, as Kyle Larson actually is going to take the lead. But we're going to look for Matt DiBenedetto. Where is that 21 car at? There he is, right there behind the 1 of Kurt Busch. So Matt DiBenedetto right now is in 25th position. So that is a big hit right there to that team because Chris Buescher's in line, potentially 8, 9, 10 points potential right here.
I don't think it's 25th anymore. I'm pretty sure that was after all the pit stops are still sorting out, but he's still
way down.
a lot farther back than he wants to be. And yes, I think that something happened there. I don't know what slowed him up, but something certainly slowed him up on pit road. And now Chris Buescher looking like he's going to go for the stage win here. So that's worst case scenario right now at the moment for Matt DiBenedetto.
Now, are you concerned if he go down? I mean, if he loses 10 points right here to the 17, he goes down by 5 instead of being to the good by 5. Are you concerned if you're a guy like Matt DiBenedetto in that situation, or are you confident in your plate track ability still?
Well, it's definitely not something that you want to have happen, so I think he's going to be a little bit concerned about it, but his team may not even inform him of that happening. You know, you want to have that driver focused on doing everything he can do, and then at the end of the race, you know, let him know what the point situation is and how hard he has to go. So at the moment, he may not even be informed about it, but I'm sure that team, they'll know about it. They'll be a little bit nervous about it. And honestly, I mean, he came in here with a 5-point lead, and then if he leaves the stage with a 5-point gap backwards, then obviously it's pretty easy to know that you can just flip that switch. All you have to do is get 10 points, and the other guy gets 0. So things can happen so quickly here that I think 5 points is still nothing. That team may not even be terribly worried about it, but obviously it's still not something they're going to be happy about.
Something that'll be on their mind for sure. I mean, there is still a possibility here. There's 12 cars, I believe, in this main pack. So, I mean, Buescher could still end up out of this stage with 0 points anyway. So, Truex out in front doing everything right so far for that team to guarantee themselves into the playoffs. He had a chance to actually lock himself in on points last episode, but just didn't quite play out the way he needed it to in the end last week at Michigan, so he is still having to race his way in, but doing a tremendous job so far here. Eric Almirola now making a pass on the inside. Anthony Alfredo there trying to follow through on the inside. Now, as you see in the background, 3x3 there with William Byron, Tyler Reddick, as well as just a few drivers in a must-win situation there. As you got Alex Bowman, he's in a must-win situation in a Hendrick Motorsports car. Matt, when it comes to Hendrick Motorsports, Jay and I were talking about this earlier in the year. Does it seem like to you that Hendrick Motorsports always seems to be stronger in the Daytona 500 versus the Coca-Cola or Coke Zero 400, even though it's the same track? They always seem to be stronger in February at Daytona.
Yeah, but I mean, William Byron won this race last year, so like I don't think it's that big of a difference. I mean, even having the best car, I don't think it really matters at Daytona.
Right. I mean, Jay, I mean, that's something we've been kind of keeping an eye on. But right now, we're seeing Bowman do pretty well. Kyle Larson up here in the mix. Chase Elliott as well in the mix. But obviously, Elliott is trying to beat Kyle Larson for that regular season championship. And right now, this is not what he needs, as it looks like he's still at risk of losing more points. So he's almost going to have to hope Kyle Larson has an incident or something in Stage 3 if he wants to get those extra, I think, what is it, 15 playoff points?
Yeah, he would get an extra 5 because at the moment he's in line for 10, so he wants to get an extra 5 playoff points, and certainly he doesn't want to lose that second position either. So as much as I'm sure he's thinking about getting the first one, he's also got to worry about not losing the second position. He's got 10 points, he's got 8 points, sorry, on Denny Hamlin, and then 10 points on Eric Almirola. So he's certainly got to watch those two as well, which Almirola at the moment is out in the lead, gaining points on Elliott. So he's got to be careful that not only does he not lose ground for first place, but he also doesn't lose that second place.
White flag in the air in Stage 1. Chris Buescher has fallen outside of the top 10. This is the best case scenario right now for Matt DiBenedetto, who finds himself in 23rd place, side by side here in the front. Logano, and now Kyle Larson has fallen behind Chase Elliott, so Elliott in a position to do exactly what he needs to do. Hendrick Motorsports looking strong, by the way, other than the 24 Byron, who was a little bit behind after that pit cycle. But here we go down this back straightaway into turn 3 for the final time. Elliott, watching him, can he get a few extra spots here before they get to the checkered now, as he's trying to pass at least that 10 of Eric Almirola. Out of turns for Logano, just about clear of Eric Almirola coming into the tribal, but it is going to be looking like a potential photo finish, but it's going to be the 22 of Logano. Almirola in second, Chase Elliott third, Truex fourth, expanding his points gap above the cut line, and Chris Buescher comes up 1 spot short of stage points. So that means Matt DiBenedetto remains 5 points above the cut line. So a big moment right there for Matt DiBenedetto, potentially, Jay, playoff saving. And I mean, he just had to hope that 17 was going to get shuffled out, and it worked out perfect for him.
And I just want to come in real quick and mention this with my quick math. I'll take a moment to actually calculate it, but I'm pretty sure Truex falling down to fourth place there means that he cannot lock himself in with these two stages. He will be 1 point short of being able to lock himself in. Even if he wins stage two, he's going to only be 59 points above Matt DiBenedetto if Matt DiBenedetto gets 0 stage points. So Martin Truex Jr. is going to have to be careful and not actually, no. I guess he could lock himself in because there won't be 60 total points to get. But either way, he's still going to have to worry after stage two.
Some damage on the back of the 14 and on the front of the 66. Looks like they came together on the cooldown right there. Some back bumper damage as well on the 21, but very, very light as everybody is organized, getting ready to come into the pit lane. We are going to take a break as soon as the pit stops are over, and then we're going to calculate the points real quick and come back with an update on the exact situation going on with the playoff as well as regular season championship battle there. As we saw Kyle Busch pick up 6 points in stage one. Those could be very, very important as well now as the field comes on to the pit lane. So, obvious 4-tire call here, I would think, would be the smart way to go. Jay, I mean, would you see potential other strategies happening here? Or maybe just 4 tires and just hope for the best?
Only if you're somebody who is very desperate and needs a win and feel like you can't put yourself in position to get that win without fuel, which at Daytona in a pack, it's extremely easy to find your way to the front. So I think we'll see everybody take 4 tires and fuel here. It's not worth the risk taking two tires and only a can of fuel because of how short the fuel run is already. And if you make it even shorter and no one else does it with you, you're going to be by yourself without a pack. So the strategy here, I think, is only 4 tires and fuel.
Looks like that is exactly what everybody is doing. They seem to agree with that call as the race out of the pit lane is won by your stage winner of Joey Logano. Just 1 win on the season for him, but he picks up a nice playoff point right there. Chase Elliott second, Eric Almirola third, Alfredo fourth, Alex Bowman P5. As we're going to go for a quick break here from the Coke Zero 400 and come back with a live playoff update, getting ready to go green for the start of stage 2. Back from Daytona here in the regular season finale, getting ready to go green for stage 2. It's only going to be about 21 laps of racing, but under the caution, something going on with the 37 car. He is now a few laps down, but when they came out of the pit lane, both the 8 car and the 3 car teammates coincidentally ran into the back of the cars in front of them, got a lot of front end damage. Reddick, who comes into stage 2, 35 points below the cut line, could potentially be written off, and Austin Dillon in a must-win situation as well could be written off. Of course, we got some updates on the playoffs right now. So after stage 1, Truex 50 points above the cut line. DiBenedetto remains 5 above Chris Buescher. Kyle Busch closes in from 27 below to 21 points below the cut line. Reddick, like we just mentioned, 35 points below the cut line. Jay, regular season championship battle closed up a little bit as well, with Elliott getting some points, and same for Eric Almirola and Joey Logano. What's that looking like?
Yeah, we're getting a lot more spicy up here for the top 3 spots. We have Kyle Larson still in the lead with 9-11, and then Chase Elliott is in second place, 27 back of him, and then Almirola is in third place currently. He moved up to third place, is now 36 back of the lead, and then Denny Hamlin is now in fourth place, 43 points back of the lead spot, but he's also still very much in contention for second and third. And then Joey Logano in fourth place still. He's out of contention for that top spot, but he's 22 points behind Denny Hamlin, and he's 38 points behind Chase Elliott. So he still has a chance at the second spot, and certainly still has a chance at the third spot. So there's still a lot going on here with just starting stage 2.
Lot to happen here now. The green flag is out. 21 laps of racing here in stage 2. We're going to keep an eye on specifically on these 2 cars right here to see if they still have speed in their cars or not. Here comes the 37 of Ryan Preece right now. He's going to have a big run. You can already see the 66 of Timmy Hill, by the way, as well. No front end remaining on his car, and you can see the lack of speed right there. Now, single file restarts means everybody's going to be a little bit separated on the start. Another car that does have some back end damage that's pretty significant is a 23 of Bubba Wallace. You're seeing him right there, and he did not pick to get that repaired, so we'll see what the impact is at least here in stage 2 before they do have an opportunity to repair that car. He's locked into the playoffs. He has nothing to worry about here. As Martin Truex Jr. into turn 3, making it 3 wide with the Hendrick duo of Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott now, as you see Eric Almirola making a move up the inside. Right now, Jay, we're seeing Fords. They seem to be pretty strong here tonight. I remember when we were in Talladega. Fords were strong there with Penske and whatnot, but of course they didn't come out on top in the end. It was a Chevy of Ross Chastain. But do you think manufacturers are going to play a big role here in how tonight's ending shapes out now with them potentially working together?
I don't think we'll see manufacturers work together so much in this race. We haven't really seen that in any of the races so far in NR, much like we have in real life. So I don't think we'll see them play a factor at all tonight. I think, especially with a lot of these drivers needing to maybe go against some of their teammates a bit to either get the regular season championship or get themselves inside the playoffs. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of camaraderie towards the end of the race with that. These guys have to race each other. They have to get every position they can with or without their teammates, or some of them have to beat their teammates as well. So they have to do everything they can, and then also kind of hope that their teammate maybe doesn't have the same fortune they do. As right now up towards the front, we have a couple of playoff guys, and we have I think 4 out of the actually no, now 5 with Denny Hamlin joining this lead pack. All 5 of the guys battling for that regular season championship are now up here towards the front of this pack.
And there is another thing Jay brought up that was worth noting is we're not keeping a huge eye on it, but if it puts us in a weird situation, we will look at it at the end of the race where Anthony Alfredo came into this race outside of the top 30, just 2 points behind Quinn Half. He picked up stage points, and now he's back in the top 30 in points. And if he won tonight, he would be in the playoffs if he's in the top 30 in points. So there's potential surprise winners that are right around that line of being in the top 30 or not in the points. So we are going to try and keep an eye on that at the end of the race if we need to. Hopefully we won't now, as you're seeing Michael McDowell there, the Daytona 500 winner from real life earlier this year, making a move up the inside of Kyle, which a little bit of back end damage on him as well. But you can tell this rear end damage isn't really affecting anybody, as Bubba Wallace is now actually coming up through the pack in that middle line back there now. As it looks overall right now, what's kind of pointing out to me is that 10 of Eric Almirola and the 17 of Chris Buescher. Those two guys seem to be very, very fast right now. I mean, Eric Almirola, of course, has a pretty strong plate racing resume. Of course, 2 of his 3 career wins have come at plate tracks, Daytona as well as Talladega. I mean, do you consider Almirola to be a top 5 restricted plate driver?
I would really have to think about it, but for sure top 10, but I don't know top 5. I would have to actually do a deep dive into it, but top 10 for sure.
Yeah, who would you put right at the top? I mean, one thing that always comes to my mind would be like a Brad Keselowski, but he's kind of fallen off a little bit recently. But I mean, who do you consider right now to be the top restrictor plate racer in NASCAR, in the Cup Series at least?
Probably Denny.
Hamlin right there on the bottom right now.
Yeah.
I mean, a good pick, of course, has won a lot of plate races, including Daytona 500s recently, Talladega last year. Jay, I mean, who do you consider? I mean, would you agree with Hamlin, or do you have another guy that's right now your top guy at restricted plate tracks?
I think it honestly depends on the track that we go to. If it's Daytona, I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. But if it's Talladega, then I look immediately to Brad Keselowski. Hamlin seems to be able to win everything at Daytona, but not really at Talladega. Kind of the same thing for Keselowski. Keselowski wins everything at Talladega, but not really Daytona. So, I think we really have just the kings of the certain tracks, and Brad Keselowski is certainly one of the more dominant guys we've ever had at Talladega, and then Denny Hamlin overall certainly a great great plate racer no matter what track, whether it's Daytona or Talladega. He just doesn't seem to find the same success at Talladega he does here at Daytona.
Some good 3-wide action so far tonight in Daytona, but it's honestly been a pretty calm race. So, I mean, of course, that can change in an instant, but now we're also going to have slow traffic play a role probably before stage 2 comes to a close. I mean, we look at a comparison right now at the front of the pack. Joey Logano's going 190 miles per hour compared to Tyler Reddick at the back of this little 3-car train, topping out at about 175, 176. So about a 15 mile per hour difference right there. And that could definitely play a big role once these guys run them down. Because, Jay, this is not a track that is wide like Talladega. So if these guys are 3 wide, they really don't have anywhere to go once they run down those slow 3 cars of Reddick, as well as Austin Dillon and Timmy Hill.
Even 2 wide is a little sketchy here. So I think that these guys are going to have a hard time. We won't see them get less than 2 wide. We won't see them in a single file line. So even if they aren't 3 wide when they get to these guys, which I assume they probably will be, we're going to see them struggle quite a bit. And one line is going to get held up, and it could certainly bring some others from the back towards the front if that happens. But yeah, I think that we'll see them play a role in this race, unfortunately. And I thought, maybe it wasn't that hard a contact. They'd still maybe have some speed in it, but apparently I was very wrong. It has affected all those 3 cars pretty heavily, and they are going to be way off the pace. And unfortunately, for the rest of the time they are in this race, unless they wind up getting wrecked, well, these guys will probably meet them every 10 to 15 laps.
They could be the ones starting the wrecks here soon now, as you see Chase Elliott right now in front of Kyle Larson by quite a few positions. I do believe pit stops are going to be happening a lot closer to the end of this stage than they were in the last stage, so it could be very, very crucial here to get a good pit stop, because there won't be a lot of racing once it comes back out, setting us up for that third and final stage where we decide who's going to be the 16 drivers in the playoffs. Right now, it's Penske Racing 1, 2, 3. Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski making a move up the inside right there. Joey Logano, the Daytona 500 winner from our NR series earlier this year. Kevin Harvick on the inside. He won the first 2 races, Daytona and the Daytona Road Course. And ever since then, he has not been able to find victory lane and has had a terrible season after those 2 races to start off the year. Chase Elliott up into third. Jay, if you're Kyle Larson, I mean, I'm a little bit concerned now. I mean, look at Larson all the way towards the back of this pack. At the start of the lap, he was down in 23rd place. Elliott right here has a legitimate chance of closing up significantly on that regular season championship lead if he remains in where he's doing right now.
Larson got kind of shuffled out towards the start of this stage, and he's not been able to find his way back towards the front. Kind of the same thing with Martin Truex Jr. And Truex needs to find himself up towards the front here to make sure that he gets himself locked in with a couple of stage points. But yeah, Larson, he doesn't want to lose that regular season championship, but I think he also doesn't want to put his race on the line for it as well. So it could be a bit of strategy as well. Right in the back, even if Chase Elliott gets 10 points on him, that's going to be still quite the gap for Chase Elliott to make up on Kyle Larson. There's supposed to be 17 points separating those two. So I think Larson may be playing the long game here, not knowing that he doesn't need stage points. So he may be playing to stick around towards the end of this race here and make sure he's ahead of Chase Elliott at the end of everything and not just during a stage.
What do you think, Matt? Riding in the back of your Kyle Larson with a 27-point lead right now, do you think that's a smart long-term move here for him?
Yep. I mean, it's just, you've got the points lead. You can give up a couple points. You still have a healthy lead, so.
Yeah, Chase Elliott is the one who's desperate at the moment, not Kyle Larson. Larson can do whatever he wants with this lead and play it how he wants to. So I think that he's going to use the strategy a bit. And Chase Elliott's going to have to go desperate.
And right now,
Chase Elliott's in the front.
Like that right there.
Try. Yeah. I mean, like he is right now, you might want to make some moves. But...
And right in the distance, into turns 3 and 4, you could just barely see these 3 cars. So they are going to be closing up on them before, I think, the pit stops get underway. And I mean, right now, if you're single file, I mean, you're going to be okay. So if you're a guy like Keselowski, Elliott, or Cole Custer, you'll be in pretty decent shape when you get to those line of 3 cars. But we'll have to wait, of course, to see what happens over the next few laps. Like I said, there's about a 15-ish mile per hour difference between the front runners of Keselowski and Elliott and those 3 cars up there. So we'll see what happens once they officially reach them now. As you see, Ross Chastain running pretty well there on the inside. Cole Custer as well running up here. They both have wins this season. Custer won all the way back at Homestead Miami Speedway in a crash-filled race there. As Jay, I remember I always look back to that one as that was a really a big warm welcoming to NR 2003 when we saw huge crashes. Joey Logano went flying into the inside catch fence and got stuck in there, and that was the moment right there where it was like, I love this game that we're doing.
Yeah, it was certainly a moment as well where you kind of knew, all right, this season might be a little chaotic, especially at the mile and a half, and it certainly was. Mile and a half this year have been actually, I think, more interesting than any other track that we've gone to, aside from maybe the first Talladega race and then this Daytona race. So it was certainly something to see Logano get launched like that and then stuck in the fence, and then we just went on to have a chaotic race after that, and we've had lots of chaotic races since then. And it's nice to look back on this regular season that we've had and come down here to the final race of it and look at where we have all these points battles. We have 5 guys battling for the first spot in the regular season. We have lots of playoff battles going on, even a battle for the last the 30 spots. So if somebody gets a win here tonight, they might put themselves inside the top 30 and in the playoffs. So there's a lot of things to look at going down that we've had all these races for, and yet we're in the last one of them, and we have all these storylines to follow and all these things happening amid a great race happening at the moment. Aside from all these great point battles we have an actual very good race going on 3 wide a lot of the time. A lot of passes are being made, so I'm enjoying what we're having tonight.
And here we go. They're coming up right now. Yeah, this is going to get interesting right here, as it looks like they're going to decide to follow. Oh boy.
Oh, no.
Who now? I
Oh
mean, it's just like
no.
what line is going to be the best option here now? As you're going to see, Kozlowski goes inside. Briscoe is going to
Loretta
try and jump
Gloves?
up. Oh man, this is going to get interesting. It doesn't seem like they're going to be causing too much chaos, at least in terms of actually causing an incident. But look at the distance Kozlowski gains. That might look good right now, but in another straightaway or so, he could get swallowed up and engulfed by the pack. But I mean, that could be a smart move right there. Anthony Alfredo's actually deciding he's going to come into the pit lane, approaching 7 laps to go in the stage. Honestly, I think that could be a missed opportunity for the pack, Jay. I would have pitted right there because you can tell a lot of these guys are going to get held up big time here on this lap.
That is an incredibly smart move for Alfredo. He's not going to get slowed up any further than these guys are. These guys are going to be slowed up for a long time here, so he may not get himself out to the lead, but he'll certainly, I think, gain some positions when these guys all wind up hitting themselves. And he should be able to come up pit road and not have to deal with those 3 cars either. So that's a very good move there from that team. I'm honestly kind of surprised that we didn't see others do it.
And now, I mean, through turns 3 out of turns 4, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more drivers come into the pit lane this time. Maybe even the majority of the drivers here. Yes, we're going to have a lot of people coming into the pit lane now. You're seeing on the track a lot of or not a lot, but quite a few do stay out. But now we got to see if there's any potential contact points here in the pit entry. Right now, looks okay. But is it going to stay that way? Truex, Logano, they're going to get through without any issues now. So far, it is so good here now. As you've seen, Suarez, Larson, Alex Bowman all getting in without contact. Everybody is actually going to keep it nice and clean. So now we have the rest of the pack to keep an eye on here. Anthony Alfredo is all by himself, but he did not lose nearly as much time as everybody else did right there dealing with that lap traffic. So this could be a big move right there for that 38 team. Now, is look at the closing right there with Harvick and Bubba Wallace there in that number 23 and number 4. Are they going to pit out of turns 4? I would expect to see just about everybody right here come into the pit lane. And yes, there's Chastain is going to elect to stay out. That is a bit of a risky call coming to 5 to go on the stage. He could be at risk of running out of field. We've seen this in practice play out not very good. So that's another thing we're going to have to watch out for right there. But of course, Chastain's already locked into the playoffs with a win at Talladega now. As Jay, I mean, I don't see that working out for those guys that stayed out longer, and we're seeing the difference here. Here comes Alfredo making up quite a bit of time.
Yeah, that second pack that decided to stay out when they were still behind those 3 slow cars is really a big mistake for them, especially for a guy like Matt Benedetto, who is fighting for his playoff life. He decided to stay out, and I think that really is going to hurt him, and it's really just not a smart decision from that team at all, and just some mistakes here from that team tonight.
And they are just coming out now, and I mean, Keselowski and them are already going by with William Byron, so you're seeing the difference right there. And there's only 5 laps to go in this second stage. I mentioned this is going to be a crucial pit stop here because there's not a lot of racing left once they come out. Now, as we are looking to see, there's the Benedetto there. Here comes the 12 of Blaney. Chase Elliott loses some ground. He's not in stage points either, so that's going to be a big benefit for that number 5 of Kyle Larson, who has help right there from Joey Logano. So both of these green flag pit stops so far, we've seen really large just mix-ups with the position. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye out there in that third and final stage. Now, as you see, Benedetto in behind the 62. But where is the 17 of Chris Buescher? He is a little bit further up, but right now I don't think he is in a position to get stage points. I do see some trouble in the back. That's the 3 of Austin Dillon blowing up. So that will take at least one of those cars.
Out.
Oh, yes, he is. The 42 did not make it around. He's going to be in big trouble there. The 3 blows an engine, so that takes one of those slow cars out of the equation there. There will still be 2 of them, of course, to deal with now. As Keselowski and Byron lead the way with 4 laps to go in this second stage. A massive lead, yeah. I mean, but look back here. It's just a big group of cars that cannot get away from each other. And you got the 8 of Tyler Reddick, the number 66 of Timmy Hill there, kind of causing that chaos right now. But as well, not really a significant playoff situation happening here. I'm looking at the bubble drivers, and none of them are in stage points here. So, I mean, Jay, we're looking at that. That's a huge missed opportunity for everybody on the bubble right now here at the end of stage 2.
Yeah, I cannot understand why you wouldn't pit and try and get yourself out ahead of a lot of these guys here. It worked for Alfredo. He hasn't put himself in the lead, but he's certainly up inside the top 10 at the moment. And when he needs to be fighting to get himself inside the top 30, he's doing everything he needs to do And right now, some of these other guys are making mistakes they shouldn't be making at all. So
I, th-
it's certainly questionable with some of these guys' calls.
I think Custer and that second pack are gonna catch him.
Right there leading that pack. Yeah, I mean, he is
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
going to 2 to go. There it is already.
Oh, he is definitely going to be close for sure. I mean, there were 2 seconds at the line last time by, and I mean, this time by, instead of 2 seconds, it is 1.2, but they definitely
Two to
have that
go.
draft.
2 to go, right?
Kozlowski, yep, 2 laps remain here in stage 2. Kozlowski looking for that extra playoff point, and so is William Byron. I mean, Byron's had a decent season, of course, not in the mix for the regular season championship, but he did win Circuit of the Americas, picked up some playoff points there. Of course, he ran strong in Martinsville, actually gave up a win in the late stages of Martinsville to his teammate of Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott, who were able to go through on the inside late in that race after kind of faulty pit stop scenario for them. So coming to the final lap now, is Custer going to get there? They got to get past that 78 of BJ McLeod out of turns 4. Jay, what do you do if you're William Byron? I mean, every single playoff point is going to matter in the playoffs. Do you try and make a move here?
I think you have to, but you also have to be wary of those guys behind you as well. If you go to make a move, they could go from not catching you to all of a sudden they will catch you because you won't be drafting with Kozlowski anymore. So if he's going to make a move, he's going to have to be careful about when he does it. I don't think he can make it until they're off of turn 4. If he makes it going down the backstretch here, I think it'll be too early, and we'll see that 14, 16, 38, and 41 possibly catch them here.
And Briscoe leads this train. Now Kaz Gralla going to look to the inside and the number 16 as they go down this back straightaway. They are going to be there. You see the massive pack in the background, obviously nowhere near close enough to do anything through turns 3 and 4. Let me get the command just now as they come through out of turns 4. Briscoe's trying to look up the inside, and it looks like it's going to be Kozlowski leading the way down the front straightaway, and he is going to come through at ease to win stage 2 over William Byron. Anthony Alfredo picks up some more crucial points to make sure he gets in the top 30 in case he wins tonight. In Daytona, Ryan Newman there in the top 10, Cole Custer as well. And rounding out the top 10 is going to be the 17 of Chris Buescher. So he is the only bubble driver to actually pick up stage points. He just barely got in front of that 21 of DeBenedetto, who got 13th there. So it is going to bring the gap down, not by much, but close enough, of course, to add to a lot of drama here on this final stage, and that is the only thing we have. None of the regular season championship battlers were able to get stage points, so nothing changes there, except Chris Buescher is now going to be 4 points below the cut line going into stage 3. So, like we said, Jay, a huge missed opportunity for everybody there with the pit strategy, because the only driver to gain anything was Chris Buescher, and he only gained 1 point.
Yeah, there was nobody that really took advantage of it, and they really could have. They could have taken huge advantage of those 3 cars catching this pack at an untimely position, and they could have pitted early, much like Anthony Alfredo, and given themselves a really good spot. Like Kyle Busch, he really should have been one of those drivers to do it. And now he is way towards the back of all these guys. He's got a lot of ground to make up, and he's in a position where now it's looking like it's not a must-win, but it's looking like a must-win. It's going to have to be, I think, 20-something points
21.
Behind DeBenedetto. 21 points going behind DeBenedetto going into stage 3 here. So unless DeBenedetto wrecks, Kyle Busch is probably thinking he's in a must-win situation now, and it really put that team in a situation that I'm sure they do not want to be in at all.
There you see Kozlowski leading the way into the pit lane. Very easy call, and of course very easy for us during the stage break. We don't have to do anything because we know what the situation already is now. But we got to watch out, see if anybody potentially picks up some damage. You do see some lap cars, of course, having to go around in extra time. So there is going to be lap cars in the mix for the start of stage 3, including the number 8 of Tyler Reddick, who has a lot of damage, and the 66 of Timmy Hill, but hopefully they can get a little bit more repairs done to their cars and hopefully be... Oh! Kozlowski goes around there as Kyle Busch sideswiped him. He's got some damage on the right side that shouldn't affect him too much. Oh, it just got worse. The Benedetto hit him. No damage on the 21, but the 2 definitely picked up some good damage right there. The dominant car there in the end of the second stage. Look at the damage. He might have to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. And Matt DeBenedetto, how is he this far up the pack? It might have been a 2-tire stop.
All I want to say is that might be a little bit of payback from the driver of that 21 car to the 2
Watkins Glen
for a couple weeks ago. Watkins Glen
on the final lap. Kozlowski forced DiBenedetto into the guardrail and actually put himself on his roof. And then DiBenedetto, of course, got cleaned out, putting him in the spot that he is in now with the playoff situation. Now, is DiBenedetto, oh, watch out there. Keselowski is going to go through on the inside. He is supposed to be in front of these cars, so that's what he's doing there. But DiBenedetto briefly got into the back of the 62, did not actually pick up any damage. So we're seeing some stack ups here, but I am not seeing any damage just yet. I'm looking here, and it looks like everybody's okay. The 47 has rear end damage. The 22 has side damage. The 48 has, the 19.
Oh, the 19.
That's something to watch out
good.
for. He is 50 points above the cut line starting the final stage. So that's going to be interesting.
He's locked in.
Is he locked in? Well, we're going to go for a quick break here from Daytona, and we'll come back for the start of Stage 3 where we'll have a better idea of what's going on. Back from Daytona, the Coke 0400 here for the regular season finale, getting ready to go green for the start of this third and final stage. Not much changed after the second stage, but Martin Truex Jr. is locked in on points to make it into the playoffs. He is missing his front bumper. He ran into the back of a car there on a big stack up, so he's going to be another slow car, but very fortunate for him, he is locked in on points. So Matt DiBenedetto right now is 4 points above the cut line over the number 17. Of course, Busch, you see him currently up in third place. Kyle Busch still 21 points below the cut line. Reddick 35 below. You can write him off as well at this point. So now it's a 3-driver race between DiBenedetto, Buescher, and Kyle Busch. And then, of course, if we have a new winner, well, then that knocks all 3 of those guys out of the picture. So very interesting scenario to keep in mind here now, as we do as well have cars lined up on the inside for this restart that are damaged, as well as guys that just got trapped a lap down. So it's about 2 or 3 of the cars in the field right now with some significant front end damage. So that's going to be something to watch out for here as this third and final stage is underway. A lot of right side damage for Keselowski as well, as we saw live. Jay, do you think that's going to be something that's going to be impacting for Keselowski here in this final stage?
I do certainly expect it to impact him. I don't think he's going to be the same car that he was in that second stage. So he'll have to look for maybe a quick caution to get down to pit road and get that damage fixed. But then when he does do that, he'll lose track position as well. So certainly not a good situation for that team. But if they get a quick caution, they'll be able to get it fixed right away, and they should be good to go. As long as that damage is there, though, I expect him to be impacted by it.
I mean, no matter what, they're going to have to get that fixed. They're going to have to spend the time to fix that under green, under caution, whatever it is. And we haven't seen any accidents happen tonight in Daytona so far, which is a bit surprising here. Do you think we're in store for potentially a big accident later in this race, or do you think it's going to remain about the same? We have great racing, but thankfully no one has actually caused a big accident yet tonight.
I do expect us to have a big wreck still, especially if we have these cars like the 66 and the 8 on track. At the moment, they're going to have to just eventually find their way through. But once they get back into a big pack again and then they catch those cars a second time around, that's when it can become really sketchy. And we've seen it create wrecks time and time again, and I think we'll see it happen again tonight. So aside from the actual close racing that could cause a wreck, I think that we can look to these 2 slow cars here really making a wreck happen.
And you're seeing right now the 66 of Timmy Hill just planting his car right in the way. Now he's going to drop down to the inside as Kyle Larson is on that outside. Chase Elliott is in the middle there, battling it out for that regular season championship, but no battle happening right now with these lap cars being the way they are. We've spent multiple times this season trying to find a way to get rid of those cars in that position, to try and give them a black flag, get them off the track, but we haven't been able to find a successful way to do that, unfortunately, because we cannot stand this happening right here. But there's nothing we can do about it at this point. There is a potential restart thing. We can actually toggle double file restarts off, and we think we're going to test that out for future races, so stay tuned to that. We wanted to try it tonight, but I completely forgot, so that was unfortunate. Elliott still trapped behind that 66 of Timmy Hill, so a big hit right there to that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet, but back up towards the front. The pack, of course, getting grouped back together. We're seeing Ross Trask staying up here in the mix, but he actually ran out of fuel under the last cycle, so he is actually trapped a lap down. He actually was on the lead lap there for a brief moment, but no longer, as William Byron, last year's winner here, is out in front now, as Harvick's going to try and look to the inside as well. Jay, I mean, William Byron kind of becoming a bit of an underrated maybe plate racer now. We've seen he's capable of winning, of course, at the plate tracks. He's run well there in the past and, of course, won this race last year. Do you think he's a legitimate contender here tonight before this race gets over at 100 laps time?
I think if you're a driver at Hendrick Motorsports, you're always a threat at play track. Seems like they always have a way of either finding drivers who are good at play tracks or just having a really good coaching system for the play tracks, and it makes their drivers really good at it. All throughout the years, having so much success here, especially in the Daytona 500 and especially in Daytona 500 qualifying. It seemed like there was a stretch with pretty much with this Gen 6 car. It seemed like every year it was either a Hendrick or a Hendrick powered car on the pole. So they always do a great job for qualifying for that race, and then always do a great job at the plate tracks in general. And William Byron is certainly he's starting to find his stride within the last year or two, and starting to become the driver that Hendrick Motorsports really expected him to be.
Trying our best to keep an eye as well on the playoff situation as this third and final stage progresses. The way it is right now, Matt DiBenedetto is out of the playoffs. Chris Buescher is in, and Kyle Busch, of course, is going to need to hope that the 17 and 21 collectively get stuck in the back of the pack and he gets to the front, or they get taken out in an incident or something. One of those scenarios will get Kyle Busch in that position to get himself into the playoffs. What a surprising position we are in right now to see him, of course, outside of the playoffs. Jay, we've seen Kyle Busch contend for a few wins this season, give a few away, but of course I think it was really the first half of the season, of course, that put him in this situation where he just had some of the worst luck that we've probably seen for him in his career. Of course, we've seen him put himself into a few of the situations that he got taken out in, but overall it's just been a really rough first half of the season, and he spent the last half just clawing his way back to the position that he's in now.
Yeah, and you could make the argument that he'd be inside the playoffs right now if it weren't for the 3 or 4 surprise winners that we have. But that's what happens with this win in your end system. If you put yourself in a hole at the beginning of the year, it can be something you never climb out of, even if in points you should be inside the playoffs. You have some surprise winners, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter where you are in points. You're just not going to be able to make that gap up. So that's kind of what happened to Kyle Busch. He got himself in such a huge Michael McDowell.
Oh, he is way off the pace.
Yes.
And he is
I think
somehow
that's the slowest one we've seen tonight, and he has a clean car.
He was, I
That's
did a quick
really gonna hold
comparison.
these guys
He was
up.
about 30 miles per hour off the pace. That's a huge hit. I don't know, that his car looks good. So that's very, very surprising right there to see, and unbelievable. And that's what we despise about the AI in this game, and it's just absurd that we can't do anything about it. Unfortunately, now there's got to be some type of mod to be able to just DNF a certain car, and that's something we really got to look into for the rest of this season and going into next season as well. Now, as that's going to be a big hit there, Matt DiBenedetto. If he can get to the inside of the 34, he'll be looking all right, and yes, he does. But look at the effect it had on the 24 of William Byron. Unbelievable, and he's still holding up all of these cars. So it's just very, very frustrating when that happens, because you see what it causes. Look at the separation, and now everyone's going to have to rebuild back up, and then by the time they do that, they'll be approaching the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. there, who's way off the pace. He is going to 166 miles per hour right now. How fast is the 34 going, though? That's a good question to ask right now. He's going 165, so about 10 miles an hour faster in the draft, but unbelievably off the pace there in that 34. And unfortunately, like I said, there's nothing we can actually do about it. So, I mean, we know, Matt, we are going to have that lap traffic issue for the rest of this race. It's almost going to be coming down to who can navigate around those slow cars at the best time possible, and just hope that you're in the right spot now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the slow cars kind of just screw everything up.
And it really sucks. There's nothing we can do about it, because it's so frustrating. As Truex will be the next one.
And the AI just don't try to avoid them.
Yeah, they're just not smart enough to go around them now, as we're seeing Chris Buescher out in front of this now just 7-car pack. But that next pack behind them will be doing everything they can to run them down. But Jay, worst case scenario now for Matt DiBenedetto. I mean, what do they got to do? Because they are not in that front 7. They're not in this second pack. They are all the way back in this third pack. So if you're Matt DiBenedetto, what's the situation now? If we go green for the rest of the race, it's going to be a tough hill to climb for him to get back into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be rough if we don't get a caution. You hate to see something like this happen to where the playoff battle is going to get decided potentially by a slow car that we can't do anything about, and also at the same time ruin a great race as well. You know, we had a giant pack there together, and they were all racing really close together, and just a slow car going 30 miles an hour off the pace that for some reason we cannot either DNF or force to go to the apron. Just winds up affecting the race that massively. And then there's other cars that are going to run into going that slow as well. Luckily, Martin Truex Jr. is by himself, and he's also not that egregiously far off the pace, so they should be able to make their way around him easier than they did the 34. But it is unfortunate if we don't get a caution that's the way the Benedetto's playoff chances will end, and just the way that this race so kind of gets affected by it as well.
And we're just now seeing the second pack get reconnected with the lead pack. And like I mentioned, I said by the time they get there, they're going to be approaching this guy right here of the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. That's exactly what is going to happen. So, I mean, this could be an opportunity for the pack that Benedetto is in. We're about to see the effect it has. A little bit of a checkup there for the 17. And the 19 is going to plant himself right in front of the number 1 of Kurt Busch, sorry. So, I mean, just a huge effect this is having. And then they're going to have to deal with this car right here, the 66 of Timmy Hill as well. Kyle Busch running up there in second place now. I mean, the way it looks at this moment, he's in a must-win scenario if he wants to find himself in the playoffs at the end of the night. But here's the opportunity I was mentioning, is that second or third pack of DiBenedetto, Bubba Wallace, Eric Almirola, William Byron. They can now try and get a little bit closer, but you can see just how far back they are at this point. So it's still going to be a very tough battle for them now as they work their way through that traffic. They aren't going to have to deal with anyone until they get to the number 8 of Tyler Reddick, which isn't actually that far away. But what we're going to do is go for a very quick break here from Daytona. Come back here for the first set of pit stops, which is not very far out. It's just a quick break here from Daytona. We will be right back. Pit stops underway. From Daytona, Kyle Larson leads the field into the pit lane. A couple of drivers came in the lap before, including the number 21 of Matt DiBenedetto there in that Wood Brothers Ford Mustang. Eric Almirola as well joined him. They had to work their way through the 34 McDowell again. He is unbelievably far off the pace, and they're going to be dealing with Michael McDowell at least probably 3-4 more times before this race comes to a close. So that's kind of the chaos we're watching at this point. So one more pit stop remains, and that will be coming a little bit before lap 90 now, as you're seeing that 78 of BJ McLeod as well impact this battle. Chase Elliott decided to stay out compared to Kyle Larson, and I think we just saw Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe stay out, and last time we saw Chastain do this, he ran out of field. So this right here, I mean, could be an unnecessary call for Kyle Busch, Jay. I mean, he's in a situation now, realistically, he's probably going to have to win, and this could be a bit too risky for that team, I think.
Same thing for the 14 as well. He also needs to win to get into the playoffs. And aside from it being a potential thing where they run out of fuel, they're also stuck around the 78, who's also way off pace. They can't even get around the 78 at the moment with no help around them. So that is slowing them up and affecting them as well. And just once again, you know, staying out is not the choice here, and it's really going to affect those two who need to win. Kyle Busch can still point his way in, but I'm sure at this point he's focusing on the win. And same thing for Briscoe. He has to win to get in.
They make it out of 4, but if they don't pit right here, they're definitely in big trouble. But it looks like, yes, they are going to come out, or come into the pit lane, sorry. So they are going to be okay for now as we look through the rest of the field. Joey Logano all by himself. It's going to be interesting to see how this cycles out. I don't really know what it's going to look like there. A little bit of a close call with Hamlin and Kevin Harvick now as we look to see everybody coming out. No cautions, surprisingly, here other than the stage breaks tonight in Daytona. Still 30 laps to go in this race, so that could definitely change, but now we're seeing everything spread out a little bit. So at this point, I mean, it's crucial for a guy like Matt DiBenedetto, Jay, to have that draft, because if he doesn't, he's going to be in big trouble right here, and this is the perfect time where he can lose it. Right now, he doesn't have anything.
Luckily for him, though, there is a pack behind him, and then they should be able to push up and catch some of the guys. Never mind, there's not really a good pack behind him at all. I thought when they came off pit road, it looked like I saw that he was in a decent position, but I assume not, especially now with where he's running without a pack. So that's going to really hurt him as well, as that 17 was in the lead and is not in the lead anymore, but he's still around it. So currently, DiBenedetto is still outside the playoffs. Just that 34, you know, really putting massive ramifications on this race now.
Keselowski has no draft anymore because he actually spent time fixing the side of that 2 car, so he is going to have to hope for a caution at some point now, as, I mean, we're trying to look at the order. Right now, Matt DiBenedetto is in 22nd place at the start of the lap. Chris Buescher is in 11th, so DiBenedetto is still out of the playoffs with 30 laps to go in this race. And then we have our favorite moment of the night right there with the 8 of Tyler Reddick getting in the way now as we have this group of cars together. So, I mean, we've got a decent pack together here at the front of the field, led by Kurt Busch. Got Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott up in the mix now, as it's starting to look a little bit more unlikely that Chase Elliott is going to get this regular season championship. But Jay, at this point, I think the regular season championship is going to come down to I mean, of course, if Kyle Larson gets held up by a slow lap car like McDowell, then that opens the door wide open for Chase Elliott potentially.
Yeah, it's no longer really a strategy of who are you going to beat. It's a strategy of who are you going to get around. And we have the 34, the 8, the 19, the 66 all running around on the track. Luckily, the 8, the 19, and the 66 aren't terribly slow like the 34 is, but the 34 is 30-something miles an hour off the pace. So they're going to catch him every 4 or 5 laps or so. And every time they do, it's really sketch, and it also really slows these guys down a lot. So I think that pack that we're seeing together right now, they're not going to be together when they get to that 34.
There you see the second pack here, led by Eric Almirola. Eric Jones having a decent run so far. He was at the very back earlier in this race. William Byron in the mix of things as well. We'll see how this second pack handles trying to get closer to that lead pack now. DiBenedetto's actually fallen in behind the number 62, the 23, and the 48. Not looking good for him right now in the final 30 laps of the regular season. Get up to the front of this pack because they're going to be coming up very, very soon here on this number 34 of Michael McDowell. Now, it's all about timing of when they catch him. Of course, they're relatively organized right now, not 3 wide, so it shouldn't be too much of a big deal, but we still have that possibility here of a surprise winner as well. I mean, Kyle Busch would completely change everything for a guy like Matt DiBenedetto as well. So, I mean, DiBenedetto's not only concerned about the 17, but he's got the 96. I don't know if he's in the top 30, but Kyle Busch, even Cody Ware, who is in the top 30 as well. So, Jay, there's a lot of things for Matt DiBenedetto specifically to be concerned about right now.
Yeah, there is a bunch of things, and namely one of those is him not having any kind of actual drafting help, and then at 17 being right up there in that lead group. There's still, 17 actually got lucky there and was able to get through Michael McDowell really quickly, unlike the 11 and the 53. Denny Hamlin is battling for a regular season championship as well, so that's going to hurt him a bit, while Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson stay with this lead group.
Larson, Elliott side by side, 3 wide right there, as that second group will be coming up very soon here. They're actually going to be swallowing up the 15 as well of Davison. Now, these guys shouldn't have too much of an issue. They are just 2 wide now as they go down this back straightaway. So, I don't even know. I mean, Matt, right now, I mean, anything that this second pack could do to run down the main pack? I mean, strategy, maybe anything that could get them there, or are they just going to have to hope for a caution at this point?
I think we're gonna have to just hope for a caution at this point.
I mean, it's not looking good for them now, as they all got through.
There's one way to get through it. Hopefully, you just gotta hope Michael McDowell holds them up.
He could very well do that, or he could cause a crash. So we'll have to wait and see, because that there is such a speed difference that if this pack, any pack, there's 3 different packs right now. If they catch him in the wrong spot, it could still result in an incident. Here is pack number 3. Coming up right now on that 34 of Michael McDowell. Matt DiBenedetto right there on the inside. Are they going to get through? Oh, they're going to stack up right there. There's going to be the... Oh, they save it. Bowman. Oh, my goodness. DiBenedetto, a huge checkup for him, as we nearly had that incident that we had been talking about that 34 could cause. A huge save for Alex Bowman. But honestly, I'm sure that that second pack would have loved for that to have been an incident right there. Wow. I mean, Matt DiBenedetto was right there behind that. That could have been the end of the year for him right there.
I guarantee you he's going to need a new fire suit after this race. That was certainly a moment there that almost was seconds away from ending any chance he had of still making the playoffs. And Alex Bowman, I mean, can't talk about that save enough. What a save from him to keep disaster from happening. To keep this race green. Honestly, I think that, I was hoping for a caution there, and I wanted to see something like that happen. But bias tells me that I did not want to see that specific incident happen, because it surely would have wiped out Matt DiBenedetto. So thank goodness it didn't happen that way, but I still kind of hope we get a caution.
Timmy Hill has gotten the 14, the 11, and the 5 kind of separated now from that main pack, which could open the door for Chase Elliott to have a shot at that regular season championship. So it's not over yet between the 5 and the 9. Now is Elliott, of course, trying to go 3 wide. Alfredo, I think I've been really impressed by him tonight. He's having a great run. He's been making all the right moves, and right now, I mean, of course, Quentin Houff is not on the lead lap, so this is great for Alfredo if he can find a way to win this race as they close in on the back of the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. They catch him in an okay spot, and of course he is not too far off the pace to where he probably caused an incident, but you can see the effect right there, and that's going to allow, I think, Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin to probably get back up here now, but oh my goodness, and where's the 34? They just dealt with him, and well, there you see McDowell right there coming out of turn 2 going down this back straightaway, so it's not long at all until this pack again has to deal with them. So we are going to go actually for one final break here, coming to 20 laps to go. We'll be back in time for the last set of pit stops, and by the time they get to the number 34 of Michael McDowell. So one final break. We'll be right back here from Daytona. Back from Daytona 20 laps ago, they caught the 34 a lot quicker than I anticipated, but it looks like, oh, there's the accident. There goes the 11 of Denny Hamlin around it. That might not be a caution because it's off the track. The 34 has a lot of damage. He's going to be even slower now, and Denny Hamlin is definitely probably fuming right now with Michael McDowell as everybody keeps it on going, and we have the incident. Oh, the caution is out. In Daytona, oh my goodness, we knew the 34. He almost caused an accident just before the break, and he finally does right there. Shocking that it's only one car, but he's going to be out on the track still, so it is not over. But that is also going to create a very interesting pit situation, because it is just now coming to 18 laps to go, and we've seen them go anywhere between 17 to 19 and try to stretch it to 20 laps. So this puts it right on the money with the fuel window. So now we got even more situations to keep an eye out on, and they're going to have to deal with the 34 probably 2 more times, but we're going to get another look here in just a minute at that accident after the pit stop cycle. But Jay, we saw that coming eventually, and I think everyone's lucky that that didn't turn out to be a lot larger of a crash.
I fully expected that to be a multiple car crash. Whenever something happened with the 34, it wasn't if, it was when, honestly, with how they were catching him, how fast they were catching him, how slow he was going, and I'm honestly surprised that it was only really Denny Hamlin that got damaged there. The 34 now is going to have more damage than he already had, so hoping that maybe they decide to DNF the car because of that, but not likely. So I think we can maybe expect him to be even slower than he was, which is going to be another massive issue if that happens. And we're also going to have more cars grouped up that are a lap down this time as well, so that's going to cause another thing on this restart as well. This may not be the cleanest restart. We may still not see these cars get packed up like we hope.
Now, if you're Matt DiBenedetto, I mean, what do you do here? Do you just try and take a splash of fuel, maybe enough to make it to the end, and then go on no tires and hope you get some track position? Or, I mean, is he forced into 4 tires? I mean, we know on the last pit stop he actually did a different strategy there as he just clipped the back of the 41.
They are actually right on the line of making it to the end of this race. So I think they have to go with 4 tires and fuel because they can't try on only 1 can. This is right on the line of them being able to make it. So I think we'll see everybody go with 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel here. Actually, maybe not, as Kyle Busch is already pulling out of his pit box. There's some others. It looks like they're maybe only doing 2 tires. I think this is questionable, to say the least, because we're right on the line of them making it to the end.
Well, DiBenedetto, you know what he's doing. It's an easy 4-tire call for him. He's going to come out just in front of the 4. Oh, he's going to get beat out, actually, by the 4 and the 24. And then you see Hamlin, he's still actually looking pretty good, but we'll have to see what effect that incident still had on his car. So what we are going to do before we look at the replay, there's been a lot of stack-ups when they come out of the pit lane, so we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. It's actually, we're having a couple frame rate drops here. That's been a weekly thing now, is it seems like there's a couple points in each race where the frames like to drop. Now as we look in the back here, any stack ups, there is a stack up, but it doesn't look like yet it's going to result in anything. Here we go.
Oh boy.
The 20, the 1, the 41. Oh, here it comes. Oh, the 5. Oh, the 24. Nothing severe yet. The 5's front end's a little bit bent,
Bubba?
but they made it.
Maybe Bubba there.
I think they're okay.
That was close.
It definitely got close, but now let's get a look there at that incident with the 34 of Michael McDowell, as well as the number 11 of Denny Hamlin. Here's a look at the accident with the 34, Michael McDowell. Now, as you're going to see some contact right there with the one of Kurt Busch, and then Hamlin, of course, nowhere to go, goes spinning through the infield. Not a lot, of course, Denny Hamlin could do. He was just a passenger at that point.
Yeah, nothing he could do at all. He's just trying to get by the 34 clean, and of course, McDowell kind of washes up a little bit into the one car, and there's a wall to the outside there, so they obviously hit the wall, and McDowell goes spinning right back down into Denny Hamlin. Luckily for both the 1 and the 11, not a huge amount of damage to their car. Certainly something they need to look at and get fixed, but that 34 has some pretty heavy damage now, so that car might have just became even more scary.
Getting ready now to go green. This time by, it's going to be 15 laps to go. They pitted with, 17 laps to go. Jay, Matt, before we go green, do you think fuel is going to play a bit of an issue here? Are these guys going to make it to the end comfortably, or do you think that could play a role in this, in determining the ending of this race?
I think it could play a role for even the guys who took 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, but I think we also had several only go 2 tires. So I think for them, they know that they are really short. And if that's actually what happened, and I'm pretty sure it did, I can't really think of what the reasoning was with going with that strategy. They're going to have to pit and ultimately screw their races over if there's no caution. So I guess at this point, they're really hoping for a caution, and we just got our first one on lap like 82, 83. So I don't know. I think that was just a terrible gamble to go with 2 tires.
Michael McDowell is out, by the way. Just a heads up. Go ahead, Matt.
These caution laps could be the thing that saves them, though. That's what they're banking on. And if
they do have that opportunity.
The guys that went with full 2 cans, and that certainly it saves them. But half a run, if you only went with 1 can and 2 tires, half a run would be somewhere between 7 and 9 laps, which is certainly nowhere near enough to save under caution. So it's really a huge gamble for these guys here.
I think DiBenedetto needs to get to the top immediately. Going down this back straightaway, Kyle Larson stacked up behind the number 7, 8, and 66. That's worst case scenario for him. Best case scenario for Chase Elliott. DiBenedetto needs to jump up, otherwise he's throwing his chance at the playoffs completely away, and I think he's already done that now as out of turns 4. It's the 14 of Chase Briscoe leading, which would be a new winner and putting him in the playoffs anyways over Matt DiBenedetto at this point. DiBenedetto still on the inside now, as I believe, Jay, if you have the results, is it 27 points between the 9 and the 5?
It is, yes, it's 27 points between those two, and it didn't change after stage 2, so it's 27 between Larson and Chase Elliott, and then another 36 back to Almirola. And at this point as well, with the way that they're running, and Logano is falling a lap down, he is out of contention for one of those spots, so he will finish in 5th. It's really now Larson, Elliott, Almirola, and Hamlin battling for those 3 spots.
And there you see Elliott right there. Larson is still back here, stacked up behind the 8 cars. So it isn't over. Oh, the 66. DiBenedetto had an opportunity there on the outside. He finally jumped up, but probably one of the dumbest times to jump up. And he's behind that 66, and he's going nowhere. DiBenedetto's chances are pretty much coming to an end to make it into the playoffs here of the 16 driver grid, unless something crazy happens at the front of this pack, and I wouldn't rule that out ever now. He's got the 18, he got the 17 up here, racing it out. But right now, Chris Buescher is not in because of the 14 being out in front. But look at the drivers we have that could be new winners tonight. Jay, what is it looking like at this point? Do you think we're having a new winner? I mean, you see who's up here, the 14, the 51 of Cody Ware even, and the 38 of Alfredo, who's been up there all night.
There's a lot of guys up here at the moment who could get their first win of the season and get themselves in the playoffs. The 37 is close on the bubble. I think he was 2 points out of it coming into this race. So if he gets a win, that'll put him inside the top 30 and then also inside the playoffs. The 51, he's already inside the top 30. The 38, we have a lot of guys up here around the top 10 at the moment who still have a chance of getting a win. So I think that we have a very good chance of seeing our brand new winner tonight.
There you see DiBenedetto. He is in big trouble as we close in towards the final 11 laps of this race. This race completes when we complete lap 100. At the start of the lap, Chase Elliott finds himself up in 4th, now up in 3rd. Briscoe loses the lead to Ryan Blaney, so right now Elliott's going to be going for 2nd place, whereas Kyle Larson scored at this point in time. He has scored in 19th place, so not enough. And you look at the situation, there's 27 cars on the lead lap. So if Elliott wins and Larson gets 27th, I mean, it's still, is that, I believe that would be a tie, would it not, with between those two? Or is that maybe,
so.
keep Larson good by 1.
I believe so. That would put them at a tie. It either put them at a tie or +1. My brain is not that great with math on the spot. That would be so that would be 26 spots technically separating them. So I think that would keep Larson in by 1 point.
So at this point, it's going to take something to happen there. That number 5 of Kyle Larson, who's, by the way, closing up on this pack. I wouldn't say it's over yet for a guy like Matt DiBenedetto if he can just remain here in this draft. He's got help from Denny Hamlin, because you're seeing these group of cars right here. They're getting close to this main pack, so it's not completely over for Matt DiBenedetto, but he has to get that draft from the 1 of Kurt Busch to have any opportunity. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on, because now you're also seeing that number 17 start to fade down the order. Ryan Newman could win his way into the playoffs here tonight as well. The 53 of J.J. Yaley, he's not in the top 30, so if he wins, doesn't change the situation now, as Chase Elliott on that outside leading the way. They will probably still have to deal with another slow car before this race comes to a close, specifically the 66 and the number 8 of Tyler Reddick. Bubba Wallace way off the pace now as well here in the closing laps of this race. So, Jay, I mean, you're Matt DiBenedetto. If you do have the chance to get there, it's going to be tough. Right now, he's in behind Denny Hamlin. I don't think it's going to happen, but if he did, you have to go.
They've lost the draft.
They really have no chance at the moment. They're going to have to hope for another restart, and then DiBenedetto's going to have to hope that he gets an actual good restart this time. It doesn't put himself in the situation like he did where he wound up behind those lap cars and did not play it right at all. It's unfortunate that, you know, we're having this happen, but at the same time, all these other guys are having to deal with it, and they got through it correctly, and DiBenedetto didn't. So at the moment, he's outside the playoffs, and his hopes of it are very, very slim. The only thing he's going to have to hope for at this point is a caution, or maybe even a caution involving the 17 and the 18. Because, you know, even if they get a restart, he's not been able to make up positions with a couple of restarts so far tonight.
Seeing a little bit more 3-wide action. Chase Elliott in command now as we come through. Out of turns 4 to be 8 laps to go at the line here from Daytona International Speedway. You can definitely see the 21 and the 11 have all lost the draft at this point now. As I mean, this is the best pack we've seen in this whole third and final stage. If you're Kyle Busch right now, Buescher in, Kyle Busch still out. So, I mean, Kyle Busch has the full send at this point. And Jay, I mean, we've been seeing him run really well here tonight. I mean, what's it going to take, though, to put him in victory lane over a guy like Chase Elliott?
And Kyle Busch is a guy who is good here at Daytona as well. So he's certainly somebody that could be a factor for the win. And he's looking good at the moment. He's just going to have to find his way into victory lane unless that 17 winds up wrecking. But even then, it's still going to take kind of a miracle with him being 21 points out. So Kyle Busch at the moment, I'm certain, is looking for victory lane, and he's got a teammate behind him that I'm sure will help him and work with him as well.
Don't count out the 43 of Eric Jones either, who has gotten his way back up here in the mix. The 20, the 18, the 43 as it stands right now, all have to win this race. Same for the 6 of Ryan Newman, the 53 of Yaley, who actually not in the top 30, so don't worry about him. But there is a lot of potential right here for some craziness in these closing laps, including them running down that 66 of Timmy Hill. They will get to him before this race comes to a close. So this is going to be, I think that's going to be the deciding factor in this race. Now, here goes Christopher Bell. It's unfortunate they're going to get to him because we're having one heck of a battle right here.
Bell's go 3-wide.
Big move from the JGR driver. Must-win scenario for him. Byron coming through on the inside. Here comes Alfredo. And when they get to that number 66 of Timmy Hill, that is going to be, if they're racing like this right here, it's going to be very, very interesting. Now, Matt, I mean, if you're these guys, you got to be thinking about that. I mean, you're going for everything you can with now 6 to go, but at the same time, you know you're going to get to that 66 car. Are you going to try and get down too wide, or are you just going for it?
I don't know what you do because you can park it in any lane. So it's basically you're just taking a chance in whatever lane you pick, and then you hope he doesn't pick yours.
That's what it's coming down to. What lane is that 66 going to park it in now? And we're about to find out within the next lap here in Daytona. Chase Elliott leads the way. Will it cause an incident? Will the big one strike and be heaven for Matt DiBenedetto? Oh, this is going to be... This is going to be worst case scenario here to run down that 66 car. Oh, boy.
Look at all of the cars.
Contact, they're rubbing.
Look at all of the cars in this pack, and look at all the cars that need to get a win in this pack. There's so many guys up here who are extremely desperate in the moment, including the 2 of those guys in the 4-wide situation right there. This is going to get extremely sketchy. There's no room for these guys.
Chase Elliott,
Byron to the lead, and somehow they're all keeping it without crashing. Alfredo to second. Will there be an incident? I don't think they're going to crash. It looks like they're all going to keep it going, but that's 66. He needs to find a lane and stick to it instead of changing lanes 3 separate times in about 3 seconds. Alfredo to second. He's in a must-win scenario.
Too big. Byron's lead's too big, and Larson's going to be in second.
Oh boy.
And he got a huge run.
Anthony Alfredo, who just found his way into the top 30 in this race, is now up here in the lead pack, lead group with a chance to win, but they're going to have to deal with the 8 as well, I believe, before this race ends. There is a lot of things going on, and Anthony Alfredo has put himself in prime position to get himself into the playoffs.
4 laps to go. The 66 of Timmy Hill still in the way. He's actually not horrendously off the pace now that he's got some draft, but he's still hugely impacting the playoffs because Kyle Busch, who was in a chance to win the race, is now still stuck behind the 66. Embarrassing tactics right there now, as they are also going to have to deal with the 8. So, yeah, big move to the lead.
With his wounded car.
Here we go. 62 of Gregson, by the way, in the mix, but he is not in the top 30. They're going to go around oh boy. Elliott was back in the mix now, and oh, look at the impact that has. It's just so saddening to see this, and Kyle Busch still stuck behind Timmy Hill in that number 66 car. Finally gets to the inside. Unbelievable.
His chances are done unless they all wreck.
What a last stretch to the finish it has been here now, as who's going to get around the 8 car the best? It's just coming to 2 laps to go. Anthony Alfredo has a chance to change absolutely everything. Here he goes to the lead now.
What I'm looking at here is look at all these cars that are now free and away here. We have a ton of cars back here in the back that could work together and get themselves with a huge run back up to this lead group of breakaway cars that have broken away.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not said and done at all.
Fast.
Alfredo leads.
He does not block. Blaney.
Was that what loses his chance into the playoffs right there? Coming to 2 laps to go. Yeah. Blaney has been strong at plate races in the past, but you see Kyle, I wouldn't even write Kyle Busch off. Oh, I would write Kyle Busch off because he's coming into the pit lane. He doesn't think he's going to make it to the end of this race. And
he's
the
14-20. He's one of the guys who took 2 tires. There's others that done it as well up towards the front, so we still have yet to see how that's going to play out. Some of these guys may not be able to make it to the end on fuel.
1 lap around next time by. Blaney leads, Kurt Busch second, Alfredo leads the top now, as you see Newman 4th in line on the bottom, Bowman 5th.
Oh, Kurt's looking, Kurt's there.
There he goes. He's gonna try and get there. They're coming to the white flag. Can they make it? We might see some more drivers decide to pit this time by, as they might not be confident they can make it, and they don't want to cause chaos here on the final lap of this race. I think we're about to see exactly that now. It's not over yet because here we go.
You can see the way Logano moved up.
Blaney.
Here we go with oh my God! On the inside, Alfredo's going to be the leader.
Keselowski second. White flag in the air in Daytona. Can Alfredo win his way in? Michael McDowell, with his crash with Denny Hamlin, has put this just race. I don't even know how to describe it.
I believe, Gary, the 17 just pitted as well. So if Brad Keselowski wins here, that may have saved DeBenedetto. DeBenedetto is still on track. That may have just put Matt DeBenedetto into the playoffs.
We're about to find out. 3 wide down the back, but they might pit this time by as well, as now they're going to have these cars right here to deal with. 3 wide, Keselowski first, Byron second, Gregson there side by side with Joey Logano. Still potential for a surprise winner if something crazy happens right here out of turns 4. Nobody coming to the pit lane down the front straightaway. Keselowski, could he have just saved Matt DiBenedetto's season? He wins in Daytona over William Byron, as a whole lot of drivers did not feel they could make it to the end of this race. Kyle Larson wins the regular season championship, by the way, with a top 10 finish. Elliott came into the pit lane, a very odd and kind of unfortunate way to end this race here in Daytona, and that was just simply due to the horrendous timing of that final caution with the 34 of Michael McDowell. But now we're going to look through the order, of course, with everybody crossing the line, and Jay might be right. I think it's going to be close right now. The 17 of Chris Buescher is scored in 19th place, and Matt DiBenedetto, I'm looking for him on the leaderboard right now, and I am not seeing. Where is that 21 of Matt DiBenedetto scored? Oh, he's in the 8th. DiBenedetto makes the playoffs in Daytona in a late turn of events. Unbelievable. And oh my goodness, Keselowski with his 2nd win on the year, and I cannot believe what we just witnessed. Probably the most odd finish here possible in Daytona. Unbelievable now as we're going to check out the finishing order on your screen. Jay, I mean, we have commentated a lot of races this season, but that was probably the weirdest one. Of course, if that caution had come out 3 laps later, that would have never happened. But overall crazy finish, and that ultimately puts Matt DiBenedetto in the playoffs.
I knew when I saw those drivers only taking 2 tires that they were not going to be able to make it to the end. And unfortunately, that's what happened, and we kind of got the wacky finish that we saw. We still got a decent finish, but I think it really did ruin uh, the great pack battle that we had going on there. There was a ton of things happening, and a lot of guys there that were looking for a win that were there, and just unfortunately, the crew chiefs did not make a right call at all, and only had 2 tires on the car and only a can of fuel in it, and they didn't make it to the end. So Matt DiBenedetto, all in one lap, goes from having lap cars absolutely ruin his race and potentially ruin his season to having lap cars help his race and save his season because they caused that caution at that untimely time. He got his car full of fuel, others did not. And so he's able to make it to the end, finish in the top 10. Chris Buescher winds up finishing uh, in 22nd place. And then Kyle Busch winds up finishing in 10th behind him, who was already 21 points behind Matt DiBenedetto. So Matt DiBenedetto will be inside the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure I'll have to actually sit down and maybe look at it, but I believe as well Kyle Larson will be the regular season champion. Chase Elliott should be in second, and then Eric Almirola should be in third. It was very close between Almirola and Hamlin. Almirola still above Hamlin, so that steals that. And then Almirola did finish only one spot above Chase Elliott. So yes, Kyle Larson gets number one spot, Chase Elliott second, Almirola third, and then Denny Hamlin misses out on third place in the regular season championship by 7 or 8 points. So extremely close for this entire race.
And two things to point out here is Chris Buescher, who at one point was leading the regular season standings, misses the playoffs. A very big letdown for them. But at the same time, that Roush Fenway team put up one heck of a fight this season, but both of their cars end up missing the playoffs at the end of it. Keselowski with a clutch win at Daytona, the second time he's won the July or the August race now here in Daytona. Kyle Busch, first time since 2012 he has missed the playoffs. Unfortunate for him. If he would have had the results in the last half of the regular season, if he would have had those in the first half of the regular season, I don't think he would have ever been in a position where we would have been mentioning him to potentially missing the playoffs. So unfortunate for him. Here is now we look at the final 10 races on the season after seeing one heck of a regular season. We started off in the first round of the playoffs with Darlington as well as Richmond and Bristol. And Jay, I mean, Matt actually joined us in Darlington earlier this year. We saw Ryan Blaney go to victory lane there. That race wasn't too crazy, so I don't think there's going to be any huge curveballs there. But Richmond, I remember, was an absolute crash fest. And then Bristol, we haven't done the actual paved version of that, so we don't know exactly what to expect there, but I've done some practice in the past. I think those two short tracks here in this first round are going to create absolute insanity, so I think we're in store for one heck of a first round of this playoff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Certainly, those are 3 great tracks as well. Especially that last race being Bristol. I think Bristol being the cutoff race is an extremely good idea, and I cannot wait for the Bristol night race. That's going to be fantastic. That should be a fun race, and hopefully we'll have a good battle going into it as well. I'm also, we haven't gone through and calculated the playoff points of these drivers yet, so we don't know quite the exact grid going into this. But I have a feeling that it's going to not be that separated. I think we're going to have a pretty decently close grid. Maybe Kyle Larson will have some pretty good separation just because of how stupidly dominant he was in the early part of the season and getting all those stage wins. And he's also gotten the most wins out of anyone. Or actually, no, Larson or Hamlin has the most wins out of anyone. Sorry, but still, I think that Kyle Larson might be the only one who has a decent bit of separation. So I think we're going to be in store for a very good playoff battle for these 10 races, and I cannot wait.
And as always, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. It's been one heck of a regular season. 26 races down, 10 races remain. It's been a blast. The grid is set. We will also not have the actual playoff grid shown in this episode, but starting next week in that episode, we will make sure to, of course, go over that in the beginning of that race. So at Darlington Raceway. So excited for that one. Some throwback weekend. We are going to try and get some more paint schemes as well. Maybe some throwback cars and playoff themed cars if we can. But yeah, like I said, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. Thank you all for taking the time of your day to watch this episode. And we will see you guys next week for the start of our first playoffs here in our NR 2003 season and series. Have a great day, everybody.